Hi guys, welcome to the show. Today we're going to be showing you some of the ways I do live streams from the users or from the system perspective. Now, I don't have multiple cameras, so we're going to have to just try to show you things as best I can from what I do here. This is my main machine. This is the one we used to do videos or live streams on. It's a Intel Core 2 Duo iMac. I think it's running at 1.6 gigahertz maybe, or 660 gigahertz, with a front side bus of 667 megahertz. It's a 20-inch iMac Intel Core 2 Duo machine. Up here is the telephone processor that takes and makes and receive phone calls. Whenever I answer your phone call, you hear, well, actually I don't have to turn the sound up so you can hear this. Not to deafen you, but that's a dial tone for in-house. And it hangs it up. So, let me demonstrate what happens when the phone rings. So I press and call the in-house extension. And then I answer it like this. Okay, so now I'm on the phone with somebody. So let's say I'm done talking or they hang up. It automatically should hang up on its own. A couple times it hasn't done that. Let's see. The chats windows. Let me get into my session because I was just using this computer. So let me get into my personal session here. And this is my Google screen, and these are the. Come up here. You see YouTube comments, and you have to see. I have to get pretty close to read these. And even if I made the text bigger during the actual Hangouts, or using the other camera, which I can still sort of emulate by going into the Hangouts program. Not Hangouts on air, but just regular Hangouts. Of course, I have this light off because I didn't want to backlight from a video. So if I go to the camera icon, I'll just. And it's not always consistent, but here we go. And this is kind of what you'd see when I'm on camera, okay? Except these are lights. This one's on, this one isn't. But again, you can see me with the headphones on. These headphones are Nova 40s Realistic from the mid 70s. There was two versions of the Nova 40s. The later ones have individual volume controls and ear cups. This one does not have that. The volume cups control is right here. And this is my individual volume control. So I can turn my sound from my earpieces up and down as needed. This is the main volume control here. When it is red, labeled FX Send, it's going to sound, it's going to this. And then we have this desktop mic. I'm going to show you the difference between the mics. Now, actually, I have them both on right now, but I'm going to switch on the desktop mic, and you can see the difference here. Now, you'll notice that this microphone here makes me sound a little bit like I'm in a cave. And I can adjust the gain a little bit, and that makes it a little bit better. But usually, I don't use this microphone except as a backup in case the other microphone should fail. Now, if I turn this microphone on by itself, you'll notice that this one has a little bit of a bass issue. As there's so much bass on it, even though I have the bass set really low on the controls here, and they have the treble in the mid-range higher up, it still sounds kind of bassy. So what I do is I turn this microphone on a little bit here to kind of fill in the sound a little bit, so it doesn't sound so sterile. We have this something finally. This something smart. We labeled the controls. This one here is the turntable, so I can play records. And the turntable has been calibrated as close as possible to proper levels. This is the other computer that's doing the recording right now. If I would turn this sound on right now, oh hell would break loose. That's why this one's off. This is for the volume for this computer that I'm working on right now. This here is the volume, receiver volume for the phone teleconference module. If I turn this on, I can make it softer or louder as I need it. So, it makes it... So notice here that everything I'm doing is by touch. I'm not necessarily looking at the knobs. What I'm doing is I feel everything. Now, if I had a Braille label maker, I would have labeled these in Braille. But I don't. So, I can get one on eBay, but they cost a fortune. These are the pan controls. I can adjust the pre-comp a little bit on this microphone here on the desk, so that if for some reason this microphone goes offline, you can still hear me pretty good, because the desktop mic would still be covering the sound. I can do the same thing on this microphone, but it's sitting right here, right below me, so I really wouldn't need to use the pre-comp. But if I did, I could turn it up a little bit, and it will keep the sound level pretty consistent across all the channels. But I'm going to leave that one off and maybe leave this one on here. Now the other control here, the one in the middle, controls the microphones in the old studio. So this control here is going to the M68. The M68 is plugged in through an XLR cable right here in the middle, and that's going into the old studio. And in that studio, we have our SM57, and we also have a couple XLR cables, so that we can have 3 more microphones plugged in. So right now, I usually leave one of the XLR cables loose, so I can hang this microphone on my chest and still walk around in that studio as well. Let's see. The software on the screen is standard OS Snow Leopard, OS 6 Snow Leopard, OS 10 Snow Leopard, because I didn't have enough resources of this computer to go any bigger than that, so I just kept it standard OS 10 Snow Leopard. Oh yes, now let's talk about the mouse mechanics. Because I have a hard time bringing the mouse, I take advantage of a hot corners tool from Apple. This was never designed for this, but the hell with it. If I need to find my cursor, I can slam it all the way up back here, and it turns on the screensaver. So I know that it's up there. If I'm down here and I don't know, it just turns the screen off. So that means that all I have to do is move out, and if I scroll it down straight, it pulls up the taskbar. So with that 3 ways, I can determine, also by scrolling on the taskbar, I can make certain icons bigger. That kind of gives me a general vicinity of where I am, so I don't have to, repeat myself and all that. So that's the way I do this. The internet is connected both by Frontier, DSL, and during the live streams, I plug in my T-Mobile Wi-Fi, and then I just turn this thing on the Wi-Fi wireless networking here. But during normal applications at home, I just use the Frontier network for that reason. And let's see, I'll close this window here. And so that basically is it. That's how we do it. And if you have any questions, oh yes, by the way, some people ask me about sound, and why I have a hard time hearing certain callers. A lot of Aspies have a problem with certain voices that we don't really, are not familiar with, certain types of speech patterns or tone, voice can totally throw us for a loop. And I'm no exception to that. So when Sherry calls, since I haven't talked to Sherry in so long, my brain is not used to Sherry's speech patterns. And so because they're not used to Sherry's speech patterns, the result is that my brain has to retrain every time I talk to Sherry. Okay? Same thing happened with Toy Talkers. Now, I never met Toy Talkers in person. I never talked to him in person before. I know he was from the South, and I knew that he has the mid-Southern accent, not deep South, but mid-Southern, and so similar to Arkansas accent. So, you know, my brain had to like rewrap itself around that accent, because I haven't been down in Arkansas since 1988. So, yeah, it works. Yeah. So I'm going to keep trying to learn to better train my brain to process accents and voices of all types. I'm sure you probably got more questions than I've answered here. For example, what is all this other crap on this desk? Well, let's go. This is a printer scanner multifunction device. Unfortunately, it's out of ink. It's left over from Dory. She doesn't know what to do with it either. This white box here is the same format FS10 that's in the other room on the other Mac. In fact, they're connected by back-to-back through loop through. So the other computer has to be on for this to be on. This is the telephone processor. This is our main phone for this desk. And I can answer both the studio line and my personal home line in this. This cordless phone answering machine over behind me is the one that answers the phone for the studio line. And of course it's a cordless phone, so I can technically, you know, talk to people on this too before I call them or transfer the call over to the processor. And let's see. That's about it, honestly. There's not much more to say. As I said, these headphones, as I said, are from the mid-70s. And they do work okay, and they have proven to be useful. So I don't have a personal problem with them. And like I pointed out to one of the people on my YouTube channel is, out on the wire, I think it was, these headphones are over-the-ear type headphones. They have ear cups. You can see that. And so my ear is inside this cup. Okay? The cord looks a little bit battered. Which is not uncommon. This looked like that when I first got these headphones anyway. They have, these are the older Nova 40 Realistics headphones, as I said, from the mid-70s. And they have proven to be very useful. They're not the newest line of headphones on the market by any stretch of imagination. These are not Sennheisers. But these do make it possible for me to hear the videos, conversations, and things like that. And the only thing I wish this thing had was for the monitor who's sitting at the studio here, if this had a built-in 5-band or 10-band or 20-band graphic equalizer, so that you can fine-tune the sound that's going into your earpieces to better adjust for your headphones, or if you had speakers set up here, or if you're hearing. Well, I don't have that. So, as you probably noticed, the conversation is, when I was on a conversation with Toy Tucker or Sherry, I was quietly adjusting this volume control here, and everything on these knobs is great because they're raised, like I said earlier. So I can adjust these knobs just by feel. Remember, for me to see, I'm getting about 7 centimeters from the screen. Tops. That's as far away as I can normally be. 7 centimeters, unless it takes this gargantuan. Because of that reason, everything I do is by touch. All these controls are touch. There's no, as I said, if I had a choice, I would relabel this in Braille, but I didn't have a Braille label maker. And I haven't read Braille in years, and so it probably would take me a lot longer to read the Braille if I had a Braille label maker. So I just use standard Dymo label maker, and then I label these controls so that if somebody else comes in here in the studio, say a person that was going to use the studio for the first time, they would have an idea what these knobs do. For example, this one here is this microphone on this desk here, okay, and this microphone is for the other studio in the other room. This microphone is for this one. This microphone here, knob here, over here in this corner is not being used right now. There's nothing hooked up to it at this point. This way, there's no label down here. If I had an additional microphone, that probably would be labeled for that reason. That's about it. So, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, watch the video on the Asperger's and hearing loss. You really might prove very useful to you to understand the hearing problems that people with Asperger's have, but it's also the story that this gentleman is telling is very similar to my own story with hearing. And no, it's not the headphones' fault. It's not necessarily the ear's fault. It's the auditory processing area. My brain doesn't quite get it right. And so that's where we go. And for now, thank you very much for watching, guys. And I'll see you soon, okay? Bye-bye.